So in this video, we're going to talk about the idea of dividing by 0. What does that mean? Well, mathematically, we call that undefined. So why undefined? Mathematicians could have said, well, maybe it just equals the number on the top, because if you have 5 somethings, let's say 5 little dots here, and you divide it no times, well, then you're just left with what you had to start with. So that's one way we could have looked at it. Remembering that a number divided by 0 is undefined, that's a simple enough fact that we can just remember it. But I wanted to take just an extra second here to describe some of the motivation of why mathematicians decided on undefined instead of, for example, if we're trying to divide some numerator by 0, then we just return the numerator. Herein lies some of the motivation. I have 2 fractions, 2 rational expressions on the left-hand side. I have a negative on the right-hand side. I have a positive. These both evaluate to very large or very small numbers. So the one on the left is going to evaluate to negative 1 million because we're dividing this one by negative a millionths. How many times will that go into 1? Well, negative 1 million times. And then the same for the right-hand side. We've got positive 1 million. What's interesting about this and why it might relate to dividing by 0 is that you can see here that these numbers are very close to 0. And in fact, the higher we go or the lower we go with each of these numbers, we're going to get really, really close to 0. Mathematically, when we start to think, well, what does this mean? Mathematicians will look at these examples and say, as these denominators get really, really positive, the number approaches positive infinity. As they get really, really negative, they approach negative infinity. And those numbers can't be more opposite. And so because of that, mathematicians agreed that this simply equals undefined.